Do do we need to make anyone a co-host? Do you have anything to screen share or anything, or
Yes, please,
if not,
Jimmy. That'd be great.
who
I'll be putting
who
up yeah.
who am I making that? Sorry, you
Me.
broke up. Okay,
Sorry.
sorry, my you froze on me.
Oh boy, don't tell me that's gonna start, I hope.
I did it. I made her co-host.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we might wait just a minute and see if we have anybody else.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you four are here. I couldn't believe your number of 38. Oh my gosh. You are good people.
We had 80 something LOIs, I think 83 LOIs. So yeah, we had a lot, to say the least. I don't know if that's gonna be a regular occurrence or is a one-time thing, or I don't know. I guess we'll find out next cycle. But yeah, it was a lot of reading. 83 was a lot of reading, 38 was a lot of reading, but not quite as much, I guess.
Right, right.
38's a lot of meetings to do in like 3 weeks.
Yes, that is what I thought. I'm glad
That's
we're
what-
just doing the one. I don't envy
That's
you
a-
guys.
It was a lot of coordinating and a lot of Zooms to Zoom meetings. So I
Yeah.
think today's our last day. I don't think we have any next week, or we're finishing all of them up today. So
That's good. Ah, I hear another arrival. Somebody, maybe? Oh, that wasn't a chime. That was just a
oh,
computer.
that was my email, I think.
Yep.
Just dinging.
She's on the phone, I can see. Trying to get out of screen, but I see her talking on the phone.
Yeah, really. Just
When she comes back, Jordan, just give your wrap up. Say,
oh, okay. She can hear us.
Well,
She can hear what we're talking. She
well,
can
then
hear you
maybe she'll
talking about
start.
her. I don't
She
know.
can't. She may hear us, but she's not listening.
No, she's not understanding, but she's got the audio on. Ooh, looks like she's done.
Sorry about that.
No.
My secretary needed some direction than she's working on. So anyway, Adventure Crew, how are you? As you know, I'm Ruth Cleet, the trustee, and then I have Jordan.
Hello, Jordan Cleekusher, Program Officer. And then Andy, I guess, go ahead.
Andy Kusher, one of the board members.
Hey, Andy.
Dick Murgatroyd, one of the board members.
Thank you, Richard, for being here too. So I'm Kirsten McDougall. I'm the executive director with Adventure Crew, and Miriam Wise, who's been with the organization even longer, is our associate director. Really, she and I are the two full-timers who really ensure everything gets done. So that's why we're both on the call today.
Good. So tell us, put some life behind the application, because it's just pen and ink.
It's a lot, right? So I think I have screen share possibility here. Let's see. Yep, 1 second, please. So what I thought we could do is I studied your email in particular, Ruth, that gave us a little guidance of what you're looking to know about us today. So we put together a presentation, and then we'll of course have time to take your questions at any point during it or at the end. But basically, thank you first for being here, for counting us as one of the 38 many. We're really thrilled to be back at the table discussing things with Elsa Sewell Foundation and all of you. Now, if you don't know much about us, Adventure Crew's mission is quite simply, we've been in business now for almost 9 years. We provide free adventures, free food, free gear to connect city kids to nature. Every single month, it's a different adventure. Every weekend, it's a different group of schools. So at the core of who we are, that's what we do. We make sure kids who would otherwise not have the opportunity definitely get out in nature. Now, since we last met, a lot has changed. Not so much changed as grown. The Adventure Crew, in fact, we have a new name and a new look that has really helped us connect. Last week spoke and we were Outdoor Adventure Clubs of Greater Cincinnati. And this has really launched a lot of higher profile, more connections, more partners. We have grown to now have a roster of nearly 1,000 kids that is serving in the areas of Northern Kentucky, as well as Cincinnati Public School System. We have an average of 95 students out every single weekend. Now, of course, that was pre-COVID, which we'll talk about in a moment. We have grown into 24 schools. So basically, we are still that same solid program that you first came to know. We're just bigger and the kids just keep coming. In fact, this picture in particular caught my attention that day because I thought, my gosh, it's like a mini paddle fest. I mean, the number of kids that we get out on the river or get down the bike trail is pretty something. In addition to our mission, of course, we have a vision, which is really through nature to give experiences to these kids that set a positive course for their lives. Adventure Crew is a place where they can experience a supportive environment, where they can take risks, where they can take healthy risks, where they can learn to love and care about our earth. And they know they're always going to be welcomed and included no matter who they are. Now, in the last few years, we really have a strategic plan that supports, of course, that strategic vision. And we focused on two things in particular. The first being to expand our program to higher risk kids. So since we've met with you, we now regularly serve foster students. We're getting them out every single month right along. They have a whole new bucket of friends, a stable environment. That's the one consistent thing. If their homes change, if their school changes, they stay connected with Adventure Crew. So they have that constant. We now have a specially designed way of working with homeless teens, especially in the summer with Project Connect. And we've added our new Crew Cares program, which is, in essence, it's an outdoor therapy program, which we know with the escalating experiences of depression and anxiety and ADHD, I mean, especially with the pandemic too, this has been much needed and very, very well received. Another goal that we have paid particular attention to over the last couple of years has been to instill in students, and I cannot cover his beautiful face, but a genuine love of the earth, and to awaken in them this desire to not only know, but to protect our environment. Now, I firmly believe you cannot care about that which you don't know, okay? So these kids, we don't start with saying, oh, you gotta recycle, okay? They first have to get out, connect with nature and know it and come to love it. And we add elements all the time, like our river sweeps. These kids, you should see them. The competitions that they do even without us asking on the river of who's gonna bring back the big tire or who's gonna bring back the most unique piece of trash in our river. It's wonderful to watch. In fact, we have to hold lunch forever because some of them are just straggling for so long to clean up the river as they go every single time. We practice leave no trace, whether that means what Mother Nature has put there, leave it alone, or whether it means pick up your trash and take it back home or recycle. We have started with pollinator gardens. So the students are learning about the threatened bees and the honeybees and their habitats, and they're actually installing these gardens on their school campuses, for example. You all might remember the Mighty Dozen reward trip that you helped us launch just a couple of years ago for the students who experience at least 12 adventures, whether coming out with us or showing us that they have gone out on their own or with their families. They get a reward trip, an overnight reward trip every year. And in fact, this year we're doing our first Boundary Waters canoe trip that is part of our leadership program. And these students are going to be able to come back with all new skills. It's a small group, it's 6 or 7, but they're going to come back and be part of the leadership program that's going to help teach other kids, how do you cook a pizza with a reflective oven off of your fire? And how do you fillet a fish? I mean, the skills they're now learning. Even I didn't quite predict just 2 years ago that we would be at this stage. Miriam, you want to tell them of how we want them to go back home and inspire even their families to connect with nature?
Yeah. In spring of 2020, we published our first Outdoors for All guide. And this was a free resource for our students, their families, and just people in the community to get better connected with the vast resources we have in Greater Cincinnati for recreation and outdoor discovery. We centered the guide around some of our favorite crew activities. You'll see there on the table of contents, biking, camping, fishing, paddle sports. Those are all things that our students love and enjoy with the crew, but are also passions of people throughout the city and the region. And this was a way for us to connect to the broader community outside of those 24 schools that we serve and the students within them. And this has allowed us to bring in a new group of outdoor enthusiasts into our organization, whether they're volunteers or donors. The guide has been a great way for us to reach a new community.
Thank you. I wanted to talk a moment about our mantra that we put in place with our new name and new brand. Outdoors for All for us is really, it's not just words, it's actually how we put our mission in motion. When you think about the fact that in Cincinnati, 26,000 families are living in poverty, we know that 85% of our crew students in our schools qualify for the free and reduced lunches. 76% of our crew students are persons of color. And I can boldly say that these students would not have this opportunity without Adventure Crew. They would never experience paddling down the Little Miami River, going with a bunch of friends to be able to bike down the Loveland Trail, because they're wondering where their next meal is coming from half the time, okay? So that's what we do. We break down all the financial, the social, the cultural barriers, quite frankly, the safety barriers that we know prevent marginalized communities from experiencing the benefits of nature in the ways that we often take for granted, right? So that's Outdoors for All, and it is who we are.
COVID also really helped prove the importance of our program, because so many people were looking for an opportunity to be safe while getting out of their homes where they found themselves now spending the majority of their time. And so we saw a very positive response from folks that were reflecting on their own habits and saying, yeah, I go for a hike when I need to decompress. I have spent more time with my kids biking, or we decided to take a camping trip this year as a family, and then reflecting on, what makes those opportunities possible. They have the transportation, they have the financial ability to make those opportunities available to their family. And we are that for these city teens. We're their opportunity.
That's right. Now, that isn't to say we haven't had challenges. Unlike any not-for-profit, the COVID pandemic really could have threatened our organization, but challenge faced, challenge met. I mean, this fall, we were right back at it. Even though they're online schooling, they could look forward to the connection with friends. Now, of course, it's COVID compliant. We're smaller than normal, but we have been out, Mother Nature cooperating every single weekend since this fall with the same routine of kayaking and hiking and biking. I mean, the kids, we didn't miss a beat. And in fact, what I'm most proud of, really, and I'll let Miriam walk you through, is the idea that we all came up with. We were only down, folks, we were down 2 weeks when COVID all hit and the schools shut down. 2 weeks, and we knew we had to stay connected with our kids. This was going to be hardest on our students. So Miriam, you want to tell them a little bit about how we did that?
Yeah. We, after taking those quick 2 weeks to regroup and adjust, we debuted our Adventure in Place series. And this was an opportunity for students while they were at home to find ways to have personal adventures in their neighborhoods. We did fun things like scavenger hike bingo. You'll see the card there that encouraged kids to go for a walk in their neighborhood and look for things in the natural world. And the idea was, until we could be back together with our students, giving them a weekly opportunity to get that connection. And we paired each weekly prompt with a video, which involved various staff members. So our teens could see familiar faces that they were used to engaging with on Saturday outings, supporting them, being there for them through these fun and interactive videos. Kirsten's going to play this one, which was a blast.
And let me just say, put yourselves back into your 17-year-old selves to enjoy this, because this is for our students. And I will say, we had so many schools in the whole tri-state area saying, can we use these? And we're like, yes. So our reach through this program was incredible, through the YMCAs and everything. So here's one of our finest, Brandon Reynolds.
At the Crew, we love to dance. That's why for this week's Adventure in Place, we're doing the Crew Yo Dance Challenge. So whether it's dancing in a garden, or serenading a tree, or just dancing to your favorite song. Wait. Film your versions to your favorite songs and send them to us on Facebook and Instagram. And above all else, get outside and have some fun.
So the kids just respond. They love our staff specialists, our outdoor specialists. We have 13 of people like Brandon who really connect in profound ways with these kids and really propelled us through the whole pandemic, quite frankly. You have any questions about this? Because what we did with this as well, practicing safe guidelines, is I wanted to show you this because these two people in this Prius that you're going to see are our program managers, both part-time participants in the organization who give over full-time commitment to make sure our kids are cared for. And this is a great example. When a student did respond through Instagram or Facebook with any kind of reaction to the prompts that we had, we brought them care packages. We brought them crew care packages, and they had them like a nature journal, a fishing kit, seeds to plant, of course, food and granola bars and so on and so forth. Just an incredible. So we've got another 1 minute for you here. So that's how we rewarded the students and stayed really in contact with them, and they were thrilled with those packages. I want to talk just a moment about how we also navigated the pandemic financially. Our balance sheet is in the best condition it's ever been. What I did is take us right back to a zero-based budget, made sure everything we do is only for the students and that we're not cutting our programming or the impact of our mission. We also applied for and received the Payroll Protection Program round 1. We are in the hopper right now with our application in for round 2. This allowed us really to maintain uninterrupted services for our kids. I'm proud to say we retained all of our staff through the entire past year and beyond, actually. And in fact, we hired a part-time new communications and events specialist that Miriam might in a little bit be able to tell you. She's been instrumental for a lot of our new successes. And we also have 2 new outdoor specialists as well. Again, bringing that number of not regular part-time, but very irregular part-time to 13. You want to tell them a little else, Marion?
Yes, we had to do a lot of virtual pivoting for our events in 2020. That included our largest fundraiser, which is the Ohio River Paddle Fest. It is the nation's largest paddling celebration, and it happens here in Cincinnati, bringing about 2,000 people down to the Ohio River each August. We adapted that into a virtual event and saw very strong support from our paddlers, volunteers, and beyond. And we're able to bring in half of what we would usually raise in an in-person event. We also saw really, really great outcomes from turning our Great Ohio River Swim event into a one-person virtual swim. Carolyn Keating, who is on our swim planning team, her father, late father, Bill Keating Jr., the swim is named after him. He was a big proponent of the river swim and just swimming in general in the city. And since we couldn't hold the event as we had planned, Carolyn did a 5-kilometer swim in the Ohio on her own and used it as an opportunity to raise funds to support Adventure Crew because she believes in our mission. This really launched a larger program for us. Carolyn raised $10,000, and we learned how much one person's passion for the outdoors and for access for all could really launch a peer-to-peer fundraising campaign. We have built that out and formalized it into something we now call Crew Champions. And that is exactly what Carolyn did. An individual saying, I want to take a long bike ride. I want to do this really challenging swim. I want to do a very impressive hike. And I want to reach out to my family, friends, and coworkers to support me by donating to Adventure Crew because I believe in their mission. We actually have our first Crew Champion of 2021 getting ready to take on the Continental Divide Trail in a couple days. And he has a goal of raising $3,000, $1 for every mile that he'll hike over the next 5 months. It's a great way to expose our students too to how extreme adventures can get. Maybe they hike 5 miles here locally, but have they thought about doing a 3,000-mile trail? All of the lessons that we learned through virtual events, we are carrying over, and we're trying to incorporate them into our in-person events. So this year, Paddle Fest will celebrate its 20th year, a big anniversary, and our return to the river. We're going to have a lot of engagement. We expect a lot of enthusiasm for the event for those 2 reasons, and have taken that individual fundraiser model and injected it into the event. We're folks who want to do more for Adventure Crew, who believe that kids should have access to the outdoors to build passions for things like paddle sports. They can raise extra dollars, have a bigger impact as a power paddler, we're calling them. We also saw really great in-kind donations and strong partnerships grow through the last year. One of the biggest donations we received was a 15-passenger van, which has been absolutely instrumental in facilitating these smaller groups that we are now running as we remain compliant with COVID restrictions. A bus costs us $250, even if we're just filling it with 15 kids. We can put those kids in this van masked up and take them to adventures and other small programs that we have started piloting this year, some of which we'll talk about in just a bit. So this has really allowed us to remain nimble and pilot new things that we could soon scale up to involve the full crew.
That's right. Yeah, this was fun, and this was a thrilling arrival, and we were ready for it because we had been seeking a van for about a year, and so our programming, we were ready to roll and make it happen. So continuing with some of our strategic focus, and we're now getting to really the meat and potatoes of the application, is to continue to instill in students this love of the earth, but we know it comes through frequency. It comes through greater exposure. So I talked earlier about the large funnel of being able to reach a large number of kids through our traditional program, but now we're adding all of these other opportunities and small scale programs that the kid who has the desire can go as far as they want through with Adventure Crew. And that's really where we are in our desires of program request to you. So our Outdoors for All grant request, these 3 programs we're going to show you briefly, because I am aware of our time. We will have time for all your questions for sure. To provide equity and access for the marginalized youth. This is really our focus. The Mighty Dozen I already spoke to earlier. These kids to have their very first lakeside experience that so many of us take advantage of during the summer. They canoed and they kayaked and they fished and they had the powerboat experience. We spent the night, we camped out, and then we had the opportunity with the high ropes and zip lining the next day. Lots of ice cream, lots of great experiences, going to the little petting farm down the street. I mean, all the things that a lot of these kids have never had. Additionally, as part of this package, we have our biking program here.
Biking for us is really the epitome of childhood, and so many of our students do not know how to ride a bike because the communities they live in, it's not safe to bike on the streets, or they have never owned a bike or can't keep one from, safe from being stolen. So access to the equipment is sometimes limited. So we have seen an increasing interest in biking programs. Students love the off-road element, learning how to cross a creek, how to keep your pedals level so that you don't get your pedals stuck down under a rock, enjoying paved trails, and then providing a support for one another when a new member of the crew comes out and doesn't know how to ride a bike. They could be 15 years old, but without an opportunity, this is the first chance that they can try that skill out. So we have experienced students aiding beginners, and it really has grown into something that we try to inject into various adventures. So if we're hiking in the morning for 5 miles, why not have our fleet of bikes there to get kids pedaling in the afternoon? We do have a small inventory of bikes that we maintain, and we'd like to see some growth with that and continue to expand the biking program. If you think about a teenager in 7th grade and one in 12th grade, you could be looking at a very small kid or practically an adult. So having the equipment to suit our students when they show up, having enough helmets is really critical for this beloved activity.
Yep.
And then the third component of this grant request is our swim safety and lifeguard training program. This was piloted for the first time this spring. Really became a priority for Adventure Crew because we had so many students who would come out kayaking and communicate to us that they were afraid of the water, which for kayaking, we reassured them, you wear your life vest, you will be safe. But knowing that students are sometimes around water, whether they go to a pool or they're just, near a community river, it's a life skill to know how to swim. And we think that it is important that we provide an opportunity for students to improve their swimming skills and better understanding of water safety. So our spring break swim program this year ran for 5 days at NKU. That's why all the yellow and black colors in these photos. Students got to see a college athletics facility. They had instruction from swim safe pool management swim instructors. They manage almost every pool in the region. They are the best. And we assessed students when they arrived based on whether they were beginners, intermediates, or in a pre-guard skill set. And then they had instructors work with them based on their skills. So some students were just learning to put their face underwater. Others were learning techniques for backstroke. So we met students where they were. We provided, like with all adventures, the equipment they needed: suits, goggles, caps, whatever students required. We made sure they had those, so there were no barriers to participation. And the words you see in these pictures, this is how students described themselves, how they felt at the end of 5 days of instruction. They felt proud for what they had accomplished. They were empowered and confident. They felt strong. And we think that this program is absolutely something we can build on to get more students comfortable in the water, and those who are at that pre-guard stage as they build skills into employment opportunities locally. There is a shortage of lifeguards, especially in inner city pools, because there's a low access, just like not enough access to pools and instruction for people to reach the status of certified lifeguard to then work those pools. So we see an opportunity to educate students and employ. So we hope to continue this, broaden it. Just for a little insight, for our pilot program, we had 60% of our students were determined to be in that beginner bracket, which isn't surprising. Many of our students are beginners at all the activities we do. We had 25% that were intermediate and 15 that were in the pre-guard bracket. So we hope to pull in more students who have had some swimming experience and get them on track for employment, and then build those students at the beginning level up over time so that they are confident swimmers and eventually can pursue lifeguard certification if that interests them.
Yep, thank you. And basically, those are the three programs that in particular we're focused on right now: small size, big impact. And our strategic focus is really right now on this new goal of empowering youth, right? So we're doing things like everything that we just shared with you, those three programs, but also the pollinator garden installation. Here's one of our students that was paid through our work crew program to actually help install the program at his Hughes High School. We also, and we believe through empowering through programs like these, this is where you're changing the trajectory of kids' lives. This small and nimble, these opportunities is where you really come to know a segment of our population, of our kids, that we can change and help them realize successful futures. And here's one example. I was so thrilled that he was our first kid. He was a student with us for a number of years through Woodward High School. And Daniel went right through all of our leadership program, working side by side with our program managers. He's the one taking the lead to help a kid who doesn't know how to set up a tent. He does it and he shows them how to do it. He didn't even know he was interviewing for his future job at first, but it's a wonderful opportunity for us to not only connect with our partners like Great Parks or Cincinnati Parks to have preferred hiring for our students. If you're from Adventure Crew, you're definitely going to get an interview type of thing. Well, we can hire them ourselves. And that is one of our strategic goals. We've got to have our own kids getting work with our own organization. And that just brings a whole new level of meaning to Adventure Crew. So meet Daniel. And as far as measuring our impact, our short-term outcome, our desire is that these kids are quite simply, but profoundly happier, more confident, and they have greater social emotional health. The ways in which we measure this is the number of students we retain from not only month to month, but year to year, the number who sign up for our Mighty Dozen, and now even our Mighty Dozen Plus, like the canoe boundary trip. How many are being able to do this? And even just the 5 or more adventures, that's always been our threshold of that shows that a student really they've connected with nature, 5 or more. And we also do an end of year survey. When we look at longer term impact, we're looking for these kids to have a greater sense of hope, of purpose, of a connection to their family. We hope they have an improved sense of themselves and a vision for themselves and their future, and that they go into environmental education and careers, or at the very least, they continue these habits of getting out in nature and caring for our earth. We measure this through we have an alumni chapter, and we're starting to feature coming up this summer. Our alumni, it's wonderful to see how many of them are taking trips and going to our national parks and such. So we're going to start sharing a lot of this qualitative data that shows the impact in that way. Our graduation and exit surveys really give us a longer term impact of how many years they've been with us, the number who take part in our work crew program, and then the number who are hired not only by us, but also our local partners. Now, I know you have your questions, especially in regard to budget and other pieces, and I just wanted you to be able to direct these last 15, 20, however you want. But thank you, first of all, for the opportunity to present all of this and to take that time.
It was a good presentation.
Thank you, Ruth. Thank you.
Well, Dick, you've never seen them before, so what'd you think?
I'm impressed. I think basically because you're touching so many students and you're getting, we keep talking about environment all the time. But I think the best way to teach about environment is when you get them at the ages you're getting them at and they begin to understand it. I think trying to force it, force us into this environmental thoughts when we don't have, we've not had that kind of training. So what you're doing, I think, is amazing background and amazing ground base for them to go on. And I think many of them probably will.
It's true. Thank you. Thank you, Dick.
Are you working and partnering with Upspring for that new homeless teens program that you talked about?
That's one we're in early conversations with Upspring, but our formative programming is being done through Project Connect, which is again through CPS schools. So we're really biting our teeth, we're sinking our teeth in this summer into this program. We've done some of this in the past, but we're renewing it with Project Connect, and then on a more regular basis will be Upspring.
Do you deal with the schools, if I understand? I mean, as far as, do they follow up in the school with any kind of program within the classrooms that help to give more emphasis to this program you're doing?
Yes. So one thing unique about Adventure Crew is that since our very beginning, we have had paid advisors in our schools, 1 to 2 of them in all 24 of our schools. This year, they didn't have the funding, and of course, they're not in the physical school. So we were a little nervous going into this, but we stumbled into using Schoology. It's been a little bit harder with Kentucky, but we have a lot of kids through text and through our website and other channels, Facebook, Instagram, the kids talk. But we have used Schoology very, very successfully as a program that helps the kids know what's going on, what they need to bring, what they need, how it can even, we can put all of our waivers and everything on there. So it's been a great point of contact for us. But yes, in a typical year, in fact, Miriam was a former advisor. That's how she came to know us. And we recruit every year. Miriam, you want to just tell them a little bit more?
Yes, I was an advisor in 2013, and things have definitely improved with all of our waivers moving online. As an advisor, your job is to recruit students in your building to come out on Saturdays, and then you accompany them. So you're kind of that conduit. You handle, questions from parents, because those teachers or other school staff are going to have a stronger relationship with the students initially. But an advisor also holds a meeting each month to prepare students for success on the adventure. So if we're going kayaking, kids need to be told not to wear blue jeans because they'll get soaking wet and they won't dry, and they'll have a miserable time if it gets a little cold. So preparing our kids for success is a lot of what our advisors do. We're also part of a collective group called CPS Outside, which is working with Cincinnati Public to get all of the environmental organizations in one room to make sure that we have consolidated all of our offerings so that a teacher in the school knows that 7th through 12th graders can access Adventure Crew, and they're also getting resources to reinforce what we're talking about with Leave No Trace and any type of conservation work in the classroom. And so that has been something we've been very involved with. Kirsten's on the executive committee and I serve on a subcommittee to make sure we're working collaboratively with some of the formal education organizations in the city to make sure teachers are doing things in the classroom that reinforce what we're doing interactively outdoors.
Yep.
What school are you from?
I worked at Gamble Montessori in Westwood. Go Gators.
It's
So, I
good.
mean,
Did I read that these grants are, there's a matching grant opportunity for the Bike to Swim and then the Dozen program?
Yes. So let me just say, we have committed to these programs regardless of funding, okay? And we do have a way of how this will continue forward. But we have applied to Keene for a matching gift for the Mighty Dozen, Step Into Swim. These are all pending. They're all out there and we're just waiting to hear back. But Step Into Swim, we feel very confident to get some funding for the swim program. And the Outride grant for our biking program. Those are the three to which we applied.
You mostly work with what, the public school system?
All public school, that's correct.
And are the students mostly, I guess, are a lot of the students that are from lower income families and that, so you're helping them to be able to do something they probably couldn't do otherwise?
Absolutely, Dick. About 84, 85% of our students qualify for free and reduced lunch defined by our state. So yeah, these kids come out and, you know, food always helps. They get really excited about the breakfast that we provide and the hot lunch typically that we offer as well. And once that's satisfied, they are all in. They are just there and they know. I have never seen students, and I've worked most of my career with students, appreciate something so much as these kids. All they need is the opportunity, and that's what we do.
And parents love our program because it gets kids out of the house for 5-6 hours on a Saturday. And when they come home, they're tired. And so, you know, your kids, they're with a school associated program, they're safe, they're with their peers, they're being taken care of, but they're getting some of that energy that teenagers build up.
Yeah.
They burn some of that off and they come home and give their parents a little bit of a break at home, which is nice.
Right.
And do you reach out over into Northern Kentucky much at this point?
We do. We have 5 consistent programs there, 5 consistent schools. And that's been a little bit harder with COVID. But usually Northern Kentucky, those are the students that are the most engaged with Adventure Crew. So we're expecting once school is right back up this fall and we have our advisors back in the classrooms, that's just going to pick up right where it left off. So
Which schools are they?
Bellevue, go ahead, Mary.
We serve Dayton, Bellevue, Newport, which is now combined, but you know, middle and high school, Holmes in Covington, and Ludlow. And sometimes we'll see 35 kids from Bellevue alone. They have very strong advisors and, you know, kids in the community, they know their buddies are going. They want to hang out on the weekend, so they're going to go to Adventure Crew.
Well, and that's one thing the administration and parents absolutely love, hang out on the weekends. You know, we're taking almost their full Saturday. And like Miriam said, they're getting worn out by us. So they're not going to be going and hanging on the streets later that evening. This is a great opportunity for them to, again, have a healthy endeavor and be with healthy minded other people and other kids, make other friends, all of it.
I had a question. You mentioned earlier that like on any given weekend, you might have 95 kids out doing adventures. And I know you do transportation and I saw that you've got a van. How are you doing 95 kids? Do you have a fleet of vans? Are they in private cars from your specialists? You know, how are you getting 95 kids transported?
Good question. No, we do, since the very beginning, we rent school buses through Queen City or other organizations. So we rent the school buses. In the past, CPS has been really helpful to us in being able to provide the funding for that. That was cut this year. So we've been paying for our own transportation this year. And then we also have our van now. So that's just dedicated to the smaller groups, Andy.
Is it possible that you can get that transportation in kind through the schools?
We're hoping. I proposed that, and because they also help us with the advisors, right? But we're also, as Miriam mentioned, the CPS Outside, which is really seeking to establish a K through 12 continuum of access to the outdoors. The Laura Mitchell and the administration and the board and everyone realizes that we have something quite magical here with Adventure Crew in that how many students we are able to connect with and the energy and enthusiasm that comes with us. So we're really trying to piggyback a lot of these other organizations on our work and to be able to help them make the connections that we do. But yeah, it's tremendous.
That would save you some money. I mean, that would be helpful if you're not having to pay for school buses, but
It would be, we're optimistic. I'm sorry, the reason I brought up the CPS outside is we're having to be considered in context with CPS outside as well, which also requires funding. So we're not fully confident, but we know that our community will step up and help us if we need that continued transportation funding. But I'm hoping they come through for us, Dick.
might check the county. I mean, maybe, I was with the county for a long time, but it seems to me maybe that would be a good place to go, maybe to seek out some sort of transportation help financially, because I think we work with even the parochial schools with transportation on their buses through the county.
Okay, that's a good suggestion.
And most of the schools you're dealing with now over here in Northern Kentucky are all Kenton County schools. So the Kenton County school system, I mean, I would think, that would be a great thing for them to be able to do. It's always going to cost them some gas and a driver,
I thought Ludlow and Holmes were independent school districts.
They might be Holmes. I don't know, Holmes is independent or not. I think maybe they could be, but again, I think that they certainly ought to be able to pitch in, I would think, just to help with transportation, with what you're doing for these kids.
We had some luck with Newport in the past. They used to provide transportation. I think it was grant-based. They had a grant for healthy kids or healthy active bodies or something. So we've had, it sometimes flows in and out because it's coming from some other grant, but it's always good for us to, especially in Northern Kentucky, because we're dealing with more independent school districts instead of one big district, follow up. And then, CPS, if we can get one, we can get all. So that's a large group of schools, but contingent upon just one decision maker with that district.
Well, that helps a lot too. So,
Yeah.
But I would hope they would want to join in on that program.
Oh, I think if you had a contact name, I mean, we have been trying for that. So if you know of anyone, feel free to email me. We would love to talk to someone to help get that done. Bellevue, Miriam, I think it's Bellevue that often they bring their own bus. They have their own busing, right? So some of these independent schools don't even use the services we have.
Right.
But
Yeah. I'll check and see. I've got a couple contacts I can check on, see who you might get in touch with to
right.
to talk to. So.
Well, I'll just say one more thing about these kids, both sides of the river. These are kids that are often misunderstood or misjudged, or they're not inherently bad kids. They're terrific people that when they get this opportunity, they never disappoint how they rise up and they're just good kids. I can't say it enough. I know I mentioned their appreciation earlier, but they just need us. And we need the funding. I really appreciate you considering us because I think we've proven to be very, very good stewards for a number of years. We keep growing and we would love to have El Sisula Foundation, back on our side, really helping position us to grow even further because we've done a lot since you helped us the first time.
Do you have any questions for us?
No. Miriam, do you? I think you mentioned when you're trying to make the decision, I think on the 29th or?
Yep.
Yeah, our board meets next week on April 29th. And as you know, we like to get back to everybody within a week of the meeting. So the first week of May, you'll be hearing back from us.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Jordan.
Yep. Thanks for taking time this afternoon to meet with us and we appreciate it and have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you all. Take care.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.
Bye.
Sure.